Good day traders, we have another week of trading behind us and not looking back. Other than to learn, let's continue to look forward at what we can expect from the markets this week. Also, be sure to stay tuned as I will be sharing a surprise alternative view on Bitcoin. Before we jump in, just a brief look at the disclaimer. Once again, starting our week by looking at cryptos, and this week we will be introducing, also starting with Ripple, USD. Ripple currently trading on a very precarious level, that is right on diagonal support and also the new weekly pivot. This level is at 1.530, and it would be important for Ripple to stay above this level, and then the next important level would be that weekly high from last week, that is sitting near our weekly R1 at 1.747. A break above that will then see a Ripple pushing higher into this important resistance zone in the vicinity of 2, that psychological level of 2 to about 2.188. If Ripple breaks below this diagonal support, we do have some additional support from the daily 50 SMA and the monthly pivot. That is at 1.374, so a very important horizontal level. A break below that would not be too bullish, but instead that would be rather bearish, and we can expect a retest of this important level of support, and that is just below our weekly S2 at the 1.05. Moving on now to Ethereum. Ethereum just continuing to push higher, breaking into new all-time highs. Currently trading in a very strong resistance zone. There is our monthly R3 pivot level that is at 4,012. So I'm still putting that out as a target. Although all indications do show that Ripple wants to trade higher with our yearly, quarterly, monthly candles all green and bullish, meaning a lot of pressure from the buyers. And just looking at some of the other levels that we do have, we have our weekly R1 at 4,300. We have our R2 weekly at 4,600. So all of those possible targets for a move higher. The important level here would be the weekly pivot at 3,600. A break below that would see this level of support now being retested. We can see just looking at those previous candles. There has been some support from that 3,400 level. That is also the monthly R2. And then, of course, with a breakdown and a deeper correction, there's strong support from this daily 50 SMA area towards our monthly pivot at 2,500. So a very important level of support over there. Concluding our cryptocurrencies by looking at Bitcoin, we can see that Bitcoin is struggling to trade much higher. Currently, we have an important level of our weekly pivot coinciding with that daily 50 SMA at 57,000. So that is an important level for Bitcoin to stay above. If you can stay above this level, there would be a level of overhead resistance at about 63,500. That is where we have our yearly R3 pivot. And then, of course, also that weekly R2 pivot. If you can break above that, of course, then we'll see Bitcoin pushing into all-time highs, and trying to find a target level would probably be something between our weekly R3 from last week and our monthly R2 somewhere in the vicinity of 71,000. That is the target that I put out for it. And then just something I want you guys to be aware of, and I'd just like to enable a view here. And I'm not saying this is what's going to happen, but it's wise to be aware of this. There is this potential hidden shoulders pattern that can be forming, meaning if Bitcoin does reject from this 60 to 61,000 level and start trading down, there is this head and shoulders pattern that would be potentially forming. A breakdown of this head and shoulders pattern can see price trading lower, at least into this area of the yearly R1, which is sitting at about 37,000, which is also where the daily 200 SMA is trading. So let's move on now to gold. We can see that gold is trading currently also at new highs for the week and also for the month. And I just want to remove this weekly pivot from last week so we can have a clear view on the charts. We can see that we have important level of support from 1,800 And we can see gold is now trading above the 100 daily SMA for the first time quite a while. We have had a successful breakout and retest of this bearish channel. So my first target for this week will be in the vicinity of the daily 200 SMA at 1850 to about 1860. So that would be my bullish target. And of course, that 1,800 level remaining support. A deeper pullback, we'll see that retest of the daily 100 SMA at 1,780 with the strong support zone remaining at that breakout level, or just below it rather, at the monthly pivot at 1,750. Moving on now to the indices, we can see that we have our DAX having completed that head and shoulders target, maybe being just shy of it, but a very quick and strong recovery from that sell-off, and we are currently trading right up against our monthly R1 pivot at 15,400. A break above that level will then see the indices probably start trading higher into this level of the yearly R1 support towards that weekly R2. That would be in the vicinity of 15,700 to 15,800. Do remain cautious around this area, as we can see we do have that overhead diagonal also extending and acting as dynamic resistance. The weekly pivot at 15,200 remains important support, as a break below that could then see price being correcting rather lower towards this area of lower diagonal support, and that is at 14,800. Looking at the Dow, we can see the Dow also just creating new highs, trading up against that yearly R1 pivot now at 34,750. If you can get above the monthly R2 at 35,000, which will be, of course, strong resistance, it can then break higher into new levels of resistance higher up at 35,700. And of course, we have support from this diagonal, and that is sitting at about 34,250, with a deeper correction, seeing a price move into a strong level of support in the vicinity of our weekly S3 at 32,900, or let's just say rather 33,000. Looking at the NASDAQ is struggling, although it is showing some signs of support from the daily 50 SMA, that is the dotted green line. We are right on the new weekly pivot, that is at 13,700. So if we can move higher, the first level of resistance would be hit at about 14,000, which is also those highs from the previous few weeks. And if you can break above those highs, then I'd say a target would be about the monthly R2 at about 14,650. Just looking at support, we have that 15,400 level of support at our weekly S1. A break below that, we'll see a break of the 50 and the 100 SMA, and that could see price go down all the way towards the support level at 12,800. Looking now and concluding with our currencies. Firstly, looking at the Australian dollar USD, currently trading out of this area of consolidation, and we can see it does seem like the Australian dollar is catching a bid, as we can see that it's finding very strong support from that 50 and 100 daily SMAs, breaking higher. Currently trading on the monthly R1 at 0.784. A break above that can see price trade into resistance at 0.797. Going on now to the GBPUSD. GBPUSD also still in this consolidation range, but also showing some bullish signs, although currently trading at a strong resistance zone, and that is the monthly R1 at 1.399. If you can break above that, of course, a new target would be back towards those highs of that head and shoulders we previously identified, and that is at the monthly R2 at 1.417. I'm still pointing out that there is some lower targets. For instance, if we break below that level of about 1.372, that could see price move back into that daily 200 SMA near the monthly S2 at 1.348. Moving on now to the EURUSD. The EURUSD showing very strong signs of bullish behavior, also up against a strong level of resistance at 1.218. And if you can take out that level, I suspect we'll see new highs in the vicinity of that monthly R2 and the overall horizontal resistance level at 1.238. And just looking at support levels, we have that confluence of the daily 250 SMAs converging with the monthly pivot at 1.196. A break below that, we'll see probably a support being tested at the weekly S3 pivot at 1.185. Finally, we conclude with the US dollar to South African rand. Unfortunately, not catching a bit here, breaking lower through that horizontal or that diagonal support. Targets include initially support from that 1396 level from previous levels, and just below that we have a new extended diagonal level of support at the weekly S2 at 1369, and of course if we can regain that 1420 level, that will then see another retest of that important level, which now becomes overhead resistance and also probably close to the daily 100 SMA at 1462. That's a wrap, and apologies for the longer than usual video, but hopefully the inclusion of XRP made it worthwhile to some. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you again next week. This is John Jacobs for RMDTRADER. Remember, trade smart and trade successful.